Hello, and welcome to the TechZero Python Learning course. In this video, we're going to cover the basics of how to use and interact with Python, and how Python differs from other programming languages you might be familiar with. First of all, the IDE that I'm going to be using for these videos is called Spyder. That's S-P-Y-D-E-R. I find it to be fairly simple and intuitive to use. It has some nice features. You can change the syntax coloring and all that. It has a nice little variable explorer up here. So we'll assign a couple variables real quick. And run that, and you'll see reads out the variable name, their type, size, and their values. All nice and clear. Helpful for debugging, I find. Go ahead and clear those out. You also have this terminal down here that you can write commands directly into. Say y is equal to 6. Say, and saves that right up here. We can say if y is equal to 6, then print hello. And that works exactly as you'd expect. Save the variable, ran the multi-line statement, no problem. Go ahead and clear that out too. One of the reasons why that is possible is because Python is what is called an interpreted language as opposed to a compiled language like C++ or Java. It's a little outside the scope of the course, but if you want to look into it, those are the terms you need to look for. So, how does Python differ from C++ and Java otherwise? Syntactically, instead of using a semicolon to delineate different lines, as you might have noticed earlier in the example, you just hit the new line character. You just separate it with new lines, and it has no problem distinguishing one command from another. Another thing is that instead of using curly braces, Python uses indentation to delineate blocks of code, such as the interior of an if statement or loops, which we'll be covering much later. But we'll see if hello is equal to hello, print hello. And you'll see instead of starting with a curly brace and ending with a closing curly brace, we just have a little colon at the end of the if statement. And then we have an indentation. The number of spaces you use for the indentation is up to you. It just needs to be greater than or equal to 1. That'll work just fine. And any other lines in here that are indented by a single space will fall within this if statement. That helps with just general readability and makes typing out maybe a little bit quicker. So you might have noticed that variables did not start with their data type. If you're coming from C++, you're probably used to doing something like this. Int x is equal to 10, or something like that. You have to declare the data type for the variable beforehand. Or string hello is equal to hello. Python does not have any command for declaring a variable. The data type of the variable is intuited by the interpreter when you assign a value to the variable for the first time. You can explicitly change the data type after it's been assigned. For example, if we want x to be the string 10 and we have it coming in as the number 10, we can later go x is equal to strx, or just str10, and that will convert it into a string. We'll be covering data types in the next video, so don't worry about that too much yet. But that is one way that it differs from other programming languages. Next up, if you want to add a comment to a code, instead of using the double slash like you might in C++, you use a pound symbol. So let's say we have x equal to 5 is a great example. I'm going to keep using it. Say x is always equal to 5 in my heart. When the interpreter is going through the code, it will never read this as a part of the code. It sees this pound symbol and knows that everything following the pound symbol will be a comment. Now there's no syntax for multi-line comments. For example, in C++, you would have slash star star slash, and then everything between that would be a multi-line comment. Instead, what you can use is a triple quotation marks. Everything within triple quotation marks is treated just as a literal string. This is within the quotes. And a literal string that shows up in Python without being assigned to a variable will be ignored by the interpreter. So you can very safely use this to make multi-line comments if you're making like a description for a function, or you just want to add a whole bunch of lines for no particular reason. That's up to you. And that about covers it for the very basics of the basic. In the next video, we're going to be covering variables and data types.